Yesterday, I was doing some cleaning in the yard, and there were some of those poles over there, like this one, in the yard because I used to have a electric fence right here. And so I was pulling out those poles because I was taking down the electric fence. But there was one pole here, and my husband had wrapped like a one of those, like, I don't know how to explain it. One of those, like a rope or something, a small like rope that was made of like some kind of rubber, but or plastic. But anyway, point is, he had tied a rope to this pole that was here, and he was trying to hold up this tree when it was smaller. Okay, this tree was much smaller before my husband left, and so anyway, he had wrapped the rope around the bottom here. He had wrapped it up here at the top. And what I didn't know was that even though he was trying to stabilize this tree and kind of make it grow in a certain way, he was also hurting the tree. What I found is that this rope began to, you see this? I don't know if you can see it very well, but basically the tree began to grow around the rope. You know, when the tree was smaller, and it began to grow around the rope. And then down here did the same thing. The tree began to grow around the rope. And I was so sad for the tree, because I was like, oh my goodness, no, despite everything, despite being held back by this rope and basically being strangled by this rope, this tree was overcoming. This tree overcome the obstacle of being held back by this rope, right? And just began to grow around this rope. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And I spent time trying to get this rope undone, and I had to cut the rope out of the tree in both these locations. And then there was a couple of little locations as well. Hold on. I live near an Air Force base. Okay. And so there was a couple of little locations, but the biggest locations was this one here where the tree began to grow around the rope, and this one here where the tree began to grow around the rope, right? And so it was very hard to get the rope out. But once I did get the rope out, I felt so accomplished about doing it. But I was more so amazed about the tree. So the tree was being strangled, being held back by this rope, but it was not being deterred. It grew around the rope. It grew through the rope. It didn't even care. This tree, this live, beautiful, breathing tree said, you know what? I'm not going to let a rope hold me back. I'm going to grow anyway. No challenge is going to keep me from completing my mission, completing my journey. And so that's my message to you. Let this tree be a message that there is no challenge, no obstacle that you can't overcome. This tree overcome the obstacle of being held back by a rope and just growed around the rope, to meet the mission of growing into this beautiful tree. This tree was so small 6 months ago, and so I was just so amazed. And I took a lot of inspiration just from realizing what this tree had done. And I want to pass that on to you. And I hope that it gives you some encouragement. All right, love you, sis.